Most men never see the truth until they're emotionally drained and questioning their own worth. Chasing a woman is a trap. It's a cycle designed to keep you in a state of lack, always striving, always proving, but never truly winning. When you chase, you send a silent message that you believe she holds the power, that you're willing to twist yourself into whatever shape she might prefer just for the chance to be chosen. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Women aren't attracted to men who chase, they're drawn to men who don't. Chasing amidst desperation and energy of need, validation, seeking, of emotional scarcity. No matter how many romantic comedies or love songs tell you to fight for her, deep down she won't respect a man who begs for her affection. She craves the man who stands firm, who moves through the world with quiet confidence, who doesn't need her approval to feel whole. That's the paradox. The less you chase, the more she wonders. The less you explain yourself, the more she tries to understand you. This isn't about manipulation or playing hard to get. It's about self-respect. A man who chases is a man who believes he has to earn love rather than embodying the kind, a presence that naturally draws it in.
How women sense this instantly.
If you're always texting first, always planning dates, always reassuring her, she'll start to see you as predictable, and predictability kills attraction. What excites her is the unknown, the unspoken tension, the feeling that you're a man who has options, a purpose, and a life that doesn't revolve around her. The moment you make her the center of your world, you lose. Not because she's cruel, but because attraction thrives on polarity. She wants to feel like she's reaching for something, not like she's being handed everything on a platter. When you stop chasing, you force her to confront a simple question. Asterisk, is he really interested, or is he just not like the others? Uncertainty is where real desire grows. So the choice is clear. Keep chasing and remain stuck in the cycle of seeking validation, or step back, focus on yourself, and let her come to you. The right woman won't need to be convinced. She'll feel the pull of a man who knows his worth and doesn't bargain for love. The moment you flood a woman with attention, you destroy the very tension that makes attraction thrive. Women don't fall for men who are always available. They fall for men who make them work for it. This isn't about mind games. It's about understanding human nature. When you withhold just enough, you create space for her imagination to fill in the gaps. She starts wondering why you're not like every other guy blowing up her phone. She begins questioning whether she's truly got your interest. And that uncertainty is where real investment begins. Most men make the fatal mistake of overgiving, constant texts, immediate replies, always being the one to initiate. They think this proves their devotion, but it actually broadcasts neediness. High-value man understands the power of restraint. He doesn't ignore her, but he doesn't make her the priority either. His focus remains on his purpose, his growth, his life. When he does engage, it's because he genuinely wants to, not because he's desperate for her validation. This subtle shift in energy changes everything. Suddenly, she's the one checking her phone, replaying conversations, trying to decipher his level of interest. The key is to let her experience your absence. When you're not always there, she starts to feel what it's like when your energy isn't readily available. That absence creates a pull-and emotional gravity that draws her in. But this only works if your silence comes from a place of strength, not punishment. If you're withholding attention just to provoke a reaction, she sensed the insecurity beneath it. True power comes when you're genuinely unfazed, when her validation is nice but unnecessary. Women are drawn to what they can't fully grasp. If you're an open book, she'll lose interest fast. But if there's depth to you, if she senses there's more beneath the surface, she'll naturally want to explore further. This is why the man who does less often gets more. He doesn't explain himself endlessly. He doesn't chase after her when she pulls away. He simply remains steady, rooted in his own worth, and lets her come to him. When she does, it's because she's genuinely drawn to him, not because he manipulated her into it. The lesson is simple. Stop giving your energy away for free. Let her earn it. The right woman won't just stick around, she'll chase a man's. True power doesn't come from what he says or does for a woman. It comes from who he is at his core. The masculine frame isn't about dominance or control. It's about unshakable self-possession. When a man is firmly rooted in his purpose, when his sense of worth isn't tied to any woman's approval, he becomes magnetic. Women can feel this energy. Instantly, it's the difference between a man who needs her and a man who chooses her. This centered masculinity creates natural polarity. She can sense you're not like other men who crumble at the first sign of disinterest or scramble to please her. Your calm, grounded presence becomes the anchor in the relationship dynamic. When tests come in, they always do, you don't react emotionally or seek to prove yourself. You simply hold your position. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being so secure in yourself that her moods or games don't throw you off course. That stability is irresistibly attractive because it makes her feel safe to be feminine. The strongest frame is one that doesn't need to be declared. It's demonstrated through actions, how you maintain boundaries without anger, how you walk away from disrespect without drama, how you stay focused on your mission regardless of her behavior. Women don't respect men they can easily manipulate or emotionally destabilize. But when she encounters a man who remains unfazed, who doesn't beg or bargain for her attention, something profound happens. She starts wanting to earn your approval, rather than the other way around. This shift changes everything. Suddenly, she's the one seeking validation. Not because you withheld affection as punishment, but because you showed her what real masculine energy looks like. She begins matching your level of investment, not out of obligation, but because being with a man of substance inspires her to show up as her best self. The masculine frame isn't about controlling her, it's about mastering yourself so completely that she can't help but rise to meet you. The moment you become predictable in your affection, you lose. Women don't value what comes to isolate. They're wired to appreciate what they've had to work for. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding the fundamental truth that emotional investment follows effort. When a woman has to put in work to capture your attention, something powerful happens. She starts convincing herself why you're worth it. Most men fail this test by giving everything up front. They text constantly. They're always available. They pour out their feelings too soon. In doing so, they remove all challenge, all mystery, and with it, all attraction. The high-value man understands this dynamic instinctively. Doesn't make a woman feel secure in his devotion right away. Instead, he lets her wonder, lets her question, lets her experience just enough uncertainty to spark genuine emotional engagement. This isn't about being aloof or cruel. It's about maintaining standards. When you don't immediately validate every one of her bids for attention, when you don't rearrange your schedule at her every whim, you force her to confront an uncomfortable question. Do I actually like him? Or do I just like how he makes me feel about myself? The women who disappear at this stage were never truly interested in you. They were interested in the ego boost you provided. But the woman who stays, who starts initiating contact, who begins making real efforts, she's passing the most important test of all. Her actions prove she sees you as someone worth pursuing, not just another source of validation. This is when you know you've done it right, not because you tricked her, but because you've revealed your true value through your stillness. The key is to remain consistent. Many men ruin this critical phase by reverting to old patterns the moment she shows interest. They start over-pursuing again, flooding her with attention, relaxing their standards. This destroys the very attraction they worked to create. The masculine approach is to maintain your frame, to let her continued efforts determine the pace and depth of the relationship. When you master this balance, you'll never have to chase again. She willingly meet you where you stand. The most attractive thing a man can do isn't something he does for a woman, it's something he does for himself. When you stop performing, stop trying to prove your worth, and simply become the best version of yourself, you create an irresistible magnetism. Women don't fall for your potential or your promises. They fall for the reality of who you are when you're fully rooted in your purpose. This is the essence of true attraction. It's not manufactured. It's revealed through authentic being. The man who understands this stops, is chasing external validation, and instead builds an internal foundation so solid that women can either match his energy or walk away. He doesn't twist himself into knots, trying to be what he thinks she wants. He knows that real connection only happens when she meets the real him. This requires vulnerability of a different kind, the courage to stand in your truth regardless of whether it wins her approval. Ironically, its unshakable self-assurance is exactly what draws women in deepest. Your power lies in what you don't say, don't explain, don't rush to provide. When you're comfortable with silence, when you don't fill every emotional gap with reassurance, you create space for her imagination to work. She starts projecting her ideal onto you because you haven't given her everything up front. But this only works if it's genuine, if you're truly focused on your growth rather than strategically playing aloof. Women have an uncanny ability to detect when a man's indifference is an act versus when it comes from legitimate self-contentment. The magic happens when you reach the point where her presence is a welcome addition to your life, not the missing piece that completes it. This isn't about becoming cold or closed off. It's about being so. It's fulfilled in your own journey that a relationship becomes a choice, not a need. When she senses this, one of two things will happen. She'll either rise to meet your level, or she'll fade away. Either outcome serves you. The right woman won't need to be convinced. She'll feel drawn to the man who moves through the world with quiet confidence, knowing his worth isn't up for negotiation.